here's Brody Brazil.
So we've got the Dodgers and Blue Jays in Game 1 of the World Series starting on Friday night in Canada. I wanted to do a World Series matchup preview, like talk about these two teams facing each other, how this all might go. I had way too much information, so I've decided to split it up. Too much good stuff for just one video. I've already done a Jays preview. This is now my preview of the Dodgers side of things in the 2025 World Series. And the one immediate question I think needs to be asked and maybe investigated, and I'll try to answer it in just a second, but how are the Dodgers going to do after not playing a baseball game in 6 days, I think is going to be the span from when they completed the NLCS, they swept the Brewers, and then the ALCS, which was totally out of their control, went the distance, it went to 7 games. So the Dodgers have been idle for quite some time, and that's where I'll start this preview. It's all about 10 or 12 different facts here of information and stats that I think you'll find interesting, whether you're a Dodger fan, whether you're a casual baseball fan, or whether you're just trying to get into this World Series. So rest versus rust. The Dodgers will have 6 days off between the end of the NLCS, that was back on the 17th of October, and the start of the World Series, the 24th of October. The Dodgers are the first reigning champion to return to the World Series since the 2009 Phillies. It's been 25 years since we've had a repeat champion of the World Series, like back-to-back years. The 98, 99, and 2000 Yankees did it, but it has been that long, a quarter century, since we've had a team win 2 World Series in a row. By the way, more on the off days in just a second. This, though, is the longest repeat champion drought in baseball, basketball, football, and NHL history. It's crazy to think that all the other leagues have never gone 25 years without having a back-to-back champion. And in some leagues, you get a dynasty thing going on if it's the Celtics or the Lakers or the Bulls in basketball or the Warriors. So you kind of understand how certain sports are maybe more prone to having those teams that just get there and do it. But really, in the last 25 years of baseball, we haven't seen any team win back-to-back World Series. Is that what's on the table right now for the Dodgers? But this, going back to the off days, this is just the 5th time since the LCS, the ALCS and the NLCS, expanded to a best-of-7 format back in 1985, that we've had one LCS result in a sweep, and the other one goes 7 games. Let me just summarize that. Since 85, when they went to a best-of-7 format, this is only the 5th time that one series has gone as long as it could, and the other series went as short as it could. This happened previously in 1988, 2006, 2007, and 2012. In each of those 4 instances, the team winning the 7-game LCS went on to win the World Series. Shout out to Sarah Langs, who provides us with that stat. By the way, all of this coming from the MLB Network Research Department. I have just curated it to hopefully find things that interest you the most here. But that's crazy to think that you can get rusty. Now, I'm not transposing that on the Dodgers at all. In fact, they're just going to have to go against this trend. It goes to show you that sitting that long and being the team that's done with your series quicker, you might get rested. You might be feeling super fresh. And I'll give you an example of why Shohei Ohtani was really fresh when he pitched in Game 4 of that NLCS, because there's a really good fact about that too in just a second. But yeah, the team winning the 7-game series went on to win each of those last 4 World Series. Okay, in that NLCS, the Dodgers limited the Brewers to a 118 batting average as a team. That was the lowest average in any Major League Baseball postseason series of 3 or more games. Also from Sarah Langs. Shout out, Sarah. Think about that, a 118 team average. Now, was part of that the Brewers' bats just going silent? But I think the main factor is the Dodgers' pitchers and their arms, their starters, their bullpen are just that good. A 118 team average in the NLCS. That right there says it all of how you got swept. I know the postseason is about pitching and defense and low run totals on both sides typically, but a 118 offense, that's not going to move runners around enough to even plate you enough runs. Shohei Ohtani hit 3 homers in Friday's NLCS clincher. That was the last Dodger game. All other players combined to hit 4 total home runs in that entire series. So what Ohtani did in Game 4, got a little crossed there. What Ohtani did in Game 4 was as much as any other player combined did in all 4 games combined. It's kind of crazy. And Ohtani was obviously very good with the bat. He was also great with the arm. And again, more on that in just a second. The Dodgers are on a postseason heater, right? Like, They kind of cruised to it last year. I know they had that interesting series to start off with the Padres, but check this out. The Dodgers have won 9 of their 10 postseason games this year. They've only had 1 defeat, so they don't really, I'm not saying they don't know how to handle it, but they haven't had to handle it here in this postseason. They've also won 19 of their last 23 postseason games, dating back to that 2024 NLDS against San Diego. And if I recall correctly, didn't that go to a Game 5? And I apologize if I'm wrong here and you're shouting at me on the screen, but I feel like the Padres really gave the Dodgers a run for their money in that series. But after then, the Dodgers have only lost 4 times in 23 games in the playoffs. Speaking of 23, this is LA's 23rd trip to the World Series. They are trying for their 9th World Series title, which would tie the Red Sox and the A's for the 3rd most by any franchise, behind the Yankees at 27 and the Cardinals at 11. And I pause on the A's for a second because obviously I'm from Northern California. I'm looking at it from that perspective, but what a franchise of history and success. And now they're getting just kind of drug around, like from Oakland to Sacramento in a minor league ballpark for 3 years. This is the A's, who have 9 World Series titles, and I know some of them were from Philly and some of them were from Oakland. But the point is, they're in that conversation too, where the Dodgers are trying to get if they win their next World Series title. Freddie Freeman, you of course know that he was the World Series MVP of last season, but did you know that Freeman's parents are both Canadian? So Freddie Freeman holds dual citizenship between America and Canada. Freeman has represented Team Canada in the World Baseball Classic, not only in 2017, but also most recently in 2023. So, fun fact, does it make a difference? No, but there's going to be the Freddie Freeman Canadian aspect with the Dodgers going up against the Blue Jays. Okay, we talked about rest versus rust, and here it comes with Ohtani in just a second. The Dodgers starters are 7-1 this postseason. A 1.40 ERA this postseason. 81 strikeouts this postseason, including a .52 ERA in the last 5 games. I mean, obviously part of it was that NLCS, they really turned it on, but look at the overall body of work. 7-1, 1.40, 81 strikeouts, dialed it in the last 5 games. And Ohtani was great, right? In that clinching game, he had a dozen days off between starts. So for him personally, right, you can say rest versus rust on a team aspect, but here's an individual where the Dodgers are going to have 6 days off between games, rest versus rust. Ask Ohtani, who had 6 innings pitched to go along with the 10 strikeouts in the 6 innings on Friday after having 12 days off in between starts. So for Shohei Ohtani, the rest did him just fine, and there was no rust, but also Ohtani wasn't pitching regularly all season, was hitting, was playing, but certainly hasn't been pitching until recently. Blake Snell is the Dodgers' probable Game 1 starter. This hasn't been announced yet, but at the time I'm recording this, nothing is official, but this is expected. Maybe by the time this comes out and you're watching this, maybe he has been announced, maybe he's Game 2, but we're likely thinking he's Game 1. He's the probable Game 1 starter. Over his last 6 starts dating back to the regular season, 5-0, .68 ERA, 3 earned runs across 40 innings pitched. 3 earned runs across 40 innings. Opponents are batting $115 off him with 56 strikeouts against Snell in that span. And it's crazy because I saw firsthand Blake Snell struggle mightily in San Francisco. Was that just last season? It feels like 10 years ago. But when he was with the Giants, man, it did not go well in the first half. He could not find it. He was all over the place. Definitely did dial it in the second half of the season. But man, overall, Blake Snell from last year to Blake Snell this year and right now in the postseason, it's like exact opposites. Facing the Blue Jays, I should mention this. They have the highest contact percentage of a regular season team. Contact percentage like putting baseballs in play. They don't strike out a lot, to the tune of 80.5% making contact, putting the ball in play as it relates to their hits or their outs. Okay, so like the Blue Jays just don't strike out a lot, but the Dodgers have an MLB best 39.4 whiff percentage this postseason. They do strike out a lot of hitters. Something has got to give here in this matchup. And by the way, Toronto in the postseason as a team is batting almost 300, like a 294 batting average as a team. So again, they get hits, they hit home runs, they score a lot of runs, they put the ball in play. The Dodgers are exactly the opposite of that. So what will win out in this matchup in this World Series? This will be Dave Roberts' 5th time managing the Dodgers in the World Series. He's the 9th manager to take a single team to the World Series 5 different times. And you got to say, like, we can put Dave Roberts in that category, whether you love him or not, whether you agree with him or not, in terms of running a baseball team, whether he's your cup of tea or not, like, that puts you in a pretty high place of being with one team and taking it to the World Series that many times. And yeah, of course, I get it. He's timed it out well with the Dodgers being who they are and acquiring who they have and spending what they've had, spending what they've spent. I get all of that, but it's still something to be said about money can't buy you a trip to the World Series. It can make it a greater possibility, but it doesn't guarantee you anything. And if you want to talk about somebody who's guaranteeing it to happen, like Dave Roberts has been part of that. And he had that quote right after the end of the NLCS, where he said on the mic in front of the whole crowd, hey, before this season started, they said, I could do the echo. Hey, before this season started, they said, the Dodgers are ruining baseball. Yay! Let's get 4 more wins and really ruin baseball. Yay! Sorry, I had the echo effect. But I think it remains to be seen whether people are going to admire the Dodgers for being a really well put together team, or if they sweep the Blue Jays in this series, or if they struggle against the Blue Jays, or if they lose. Like, there's a lot to be determined about the Dodgers and the feelings of baseball. And look, they just swept the small market Milwaukee Brewers. Now they're taking on Canada's team in the Blue Jays. So the whole aspect of, and I'm just using a Dave Roberts quote. I'm putting him on a platform for having taken this team to the World Series so many times. But I do still feel like this team, this current version of the Dodgers, is going to be judged on how they finish this off and how exactly this plays out. Kike Hernandez's next game will be his 86th postseason game in a Dodger uniform that matches Justin Turner's franchise record. So congratulations to Hernandez. And how about Mookie Betts eyeing his 4th World Series title? He's still looking for his first home run of the postseason. Am I foreshadowing something? Who knows? Well, that remains to be seen, but just an interesting tidbit on Mookie Betts. And again, once you get to 4 World Series as a player, that also kind of puts you at a different plateau. So there's Mookie, there's Shohei, rested or rusty. We're about to find out. And even if you're rusty, maybe for a game, like it's game 1, there's still some time to turn it around in the series. We know that these two teams are made for comebacks and meant for comebacks. They're the most comebackable team. They're tied for the most comeback wins in all of baseball this season. The Blue Jays and Dodgers have the identical amount of comeback wins, more than 50 apiece. Anyway, we'll see how that factors in. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments section below. Also, thumbs up while you're down there. Helps me, the video, and the channel. And don't forget to subscribe. I'd love to see you back here next time.